Well, today I'm going to be talking about how our training and indeed our racing runs in arrears and how we often get it wrong when we don't consider the impact that our training's having on us or the neuromuscular fatigue that it's leaving behind. Because it can take 4 to 6 weeks to notice changes in your aerobic capacity for the actual training effect that you're feeling now. So the thing runs in arrears. In a small micro example, DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, will be felt, 2 to 3 days after a breakthrough session or a race. And in a macro example, a really big week will be felt weeks after, right? And this is where we need to be really mindful of how we structure our programs, how we put things together. Often we feel great following a big week, but that is the time to just pull back and train, just shooting for consistency, shooting for flow, shooting for that training homeostasis that we all chase. And often I've seen athletes 2 to 3 weeks after a big week, all of a sudden feeling beat, wondering why. And it's because it's all running in arrears. What we do today is not impacting us today. It's probably not going to impact us tomorrow or the next day. So consequently, your benefits from big weeks or races are often felt 4 weeks later. So you kind of have to have this Nostradamus mindset, ebbing and flowing your program structure with its forecast in mind. We almost have to tap into this psychic mindset and use our intuition to temper the excitement we feel now, especially when we feel great. When we feel great is when we really should shoot for homeostasis. Now, I've seen a lot of athletes over the years who are hell-bent on making hay while the sun shines, pushing themselves to the edge when they feel great, doing too much, going too hard, almost like they're making an effort to feel bad again. And I think sometimes they are, unconsciously. And often with this mindset, they succeed in doing exactly that. It's short-sighted at best and downright destructive at worst. And these are just the nuances of training. These are just the small things that lead to big things. And paradoxically, when we feel bad, we still don't want to pull back, do we? We want to feel how we felt before again. We want to go back to feeling good. So we push, we test, we prod. What's happened to my form? Where's it gone? It was here last week. So I'm going to look for it this week. And that's what gets us into trouble. We go down this wormhole because it's hidden behind the intelligence that your physical body has that is desperately trying to pull you up so it can gain your attention. And the message is, hey, we're moving away from development and athletic evolution right now. We're moving into reverse. Don't keep doing the same thing that got us here in the first place. That's borderline insanity. Pay attention, listen, use your intuition. Don't shoot the messenger. Sit down and ask questions. Because if you're after athletic development, that's the key thing, to ask the questions. Now, overtraining itself is a syndrome that could take up a whole nother video or another 10 for that matter. So I won't go there, but the purpose of this vid is to stop you getting there in the first place. You know, this whole physical and mental training substratum is a game of checks and balances, loading and deloading. As much as we dislike it, loading's half the deal. In fact, you could go as far as saying that the loading is as important as the loading itself. I mean, it's kind of like breathing. How would you be going if you breathe in but failed to breathe out? So training homeostasis is the same way. You know, what we take in, we have to leave space behind in order that it can absorb, in order that we can gain strength, in order that we can breathe out. Now, a lot of the problem is that we hear and read about the epic sessions and training volumes of others. And we're all different in this respect. We can take two athletes with exactly the same outcome who are poles apart in terms of training volumes and intensity. What's the point? Well, accept the messages your body sends you and focus on your own journey, not someone else's. And that, yes, that means even in things you read. What's good for me may not be good for you. What's good for you may not be good for me. This is the nature of the beast. And this mental judgment that we do is the mental loop that gets us into trouble. The mind is repetitive. It's really not all that intelligent, really. It's circular. You know, it's prone to rumination. It's as prone to apathy as it is to overdoing it. It's just not consistent. And when it goes into judgment, we descend into this kind of stupor where we lose contact with intuition and instincts. And those intuition and that instinct, you know, is as important as everything else. It's just another piece of the pie. Trust me, if you want to know the measure of your own ability, it's with instincts and intuition. And as a high functioning athlete, this is one of the most important lessons we can learn. And it doesn't matter what level you're at. This applies across the board. So when you set the intention, the body itself silently sets this path. Then it goes about sending you the exact messages that you need to hear. And if you want to avoid the pitfalls of overtraining, overreaching, and underachieving, then understand that it all plays out in arrears. What you're doing now impacts the messages you receive next. So what's the message? The message is don't be asleep at the wheel. Thanks for listening.